Hello, my name's Mark Avila, and I'll be doing my media analysis presentation on the Law & Order Special Victims Unit and the stereotypes it portrays with the character Elliot Stabler. The television program I chose for this assignment was Law & Order Special Victims Unit. This show follows Manhattan's greatest police investigation squad, and when they say special victims, that's due to the crimes being of sexual nature, having adolescent children involved, or mentally deranged people. Now, with that being said, Elliot Stabler goes through a lot during his normal day of work. Although throughout the course of each episode I watched, Elliot tries to maintain his persona of nothing bothering him and being strong-willed regardless of anything. Seeing the stuff he has to see every day makes you wonder how anybody could live that job and continue to love it every single day. Throughout the show, Elliot provides numerous examples of stereotypes he falls into. My prime example is this macho man stereotype, where he feels as if he has to be the dominant figure that gets his way and will only live with it if it is his way. The prime example here is when Elliot is in interrogation and is faced with a woman who allegedly threw her son out in the garbage. To invoke a reaction and to insert his dominance, he screams in her face, saying, "Because you tossed him in the trash like the garbage you are." And he was even shaking at this point. Immediately after he cools down, he storms out of the interrogation room. He's met with his captain and his partner Olivia, asking him if he's okay and if he needs a minute or someone even to talk to. He says he's fine, but both Olivia and the captain know he's not. The captain insists he takes the day off and spends it with his kids because he can clearly see this strong but silent stereotype is eating away at Elliot. Another stereotype that Elliot tends to fall into is the action hero stereotype. That is a stereotype where men come off as strong but not necessarily silent. For example, when Olivia catches him drifting off and upset in jobs, she always asks him if he's doing fine. Now, she'll ask him this because he seems angry, but yet he'll always respond that he's fine and he doesn't need any help. The aggressiveness that Elliot portrays in interrogation and even chasing after vigilantes shows that he's not always the action hero he wants to be, and that indeed the job gets to him sometimes and becomes too much. In essence of a theoretical perspective, desensitization theory applies to the constant exposure Elliot goes through with the job he has to work. Waking up every day to see the constant, disgusting crime scenes he endures every day has to leave a lasting impression on him. According to children.gov, a Canadian social service resource, says constant exposure to emotional media leads to individuals to become less emotionally attached to the situation, as the constant review of such awful things desensitizes people. This reminds me of the constant real-life violence we see on the news, and Elliot has to endure every day at work. The desensitization to these inhumane acts and cases only affects Elliot. Ultimately, dealing with your problems the way Elliot does isn't healthy. It's proven that it's best to talk about your problems and areas of concerns to other people. If you don't talk about your problems, you may end up finding yourself with pent-up tensions or even feelings that cause you to burst out in an embarrassing or inappropriate way, much like Stabler does often in the show. Additionally, the look of how difficult it is to work these cases and the mental strain it causes you may cause people to not want to correspond in this occupational type of setting of being a police officer or investigator. Although the media loves to twist the truth of stories every day, it's important to realize the humanitarian aspects of what they're covering. Exposure to media violence can have a cognitive desensitization effect, lowering empathetic concern for others in need. This only reminded me of the constant bad news we see on the news every day. It's important to realize that this shouldn't be considered normal or covered every day in the news. Unfortunately, it's what gets most people's eyes on the screens and what will continue to be covered